Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report. It's Monday, the 8th of August, 2022. Charles Firth, Dom Knight and Chris Taylor with you. We're going to talk about advertising and reviews and all that kind of stuff. But before we do, here's a way you can avoid getting at least some of the ads, Charles, that you're about to hear. You can go to chaser.com.au/podcast, pay money to not get ads like this one.
The Chaser Report. News you know you can't trust.
So, Charles, we haven't said this for a while, but we need to mention we do need some reviews on Apple Podcasts. It helps the podcast be discovered.
Yes.
And also, all the reviews that are there at the moment are part of an elaborate in-joke from Sammy Shah about leaving reviews about how great his podcast is, which is a good joke,
Yes.
but it's the only thing that's been on there for about 2 months now.
So what you've got to do is leave a 5-star review for us saying how great our show is.
Yes.
On Sammy's podcast.
Yes,
feed.
News Weekly with an A, yes.
And then leave a 5-star review for us
On our
one as well, talking about how great we are. Yeah. Or you can criticize it just as long as it's 5 stars.
Yeah, the best reviews for me are the ones that absolutely lay into us
Yes.
while giving 5 stars.
Hang on, what's going on here? Like, you sound like Uber drivers who, when you get out, insist on a
5-star.
5-star rating.
Yeah,
That's
you have
exactly
to.
what we are.
But is there no integrity to the rating system of podcasts?
No.
It's literally just people get on and do a podcast and then beg for 5-star
Yes.
ratings.
Because everyone else does it.
And
That's the problem.
Because
Really?
my
Yeah.
kid-
So if I tune into Ira Glass at the end of every episode, he's going, and please give me a 5-star rating.
because you've seen the Brides of Iceberg letters. My kids won't eat tonight if you don't give me a 5-star
What's the difference?
review.
You get more money if it's...
Oh yeah, because
It
it's
gets
all
more
about
listens.
it
You
gets more
get-
listens.
That
It's
doesn't
more
mean you're
likely
getting more
to-
listeners. It just means
No, it
you're
goes up
getting
the
more
charts.
fake
No,
5-star.
you go up the chart.
Do you?
Yeah.
But it is all fake because the 1-star reviews aren't real either. None of it's real. So they might as well.
Oh, no, it's nice for you, Dummy, to think that the 1-star reviews aren't real. I reckon they're real.
Oh, no, some of them probably
whenever
are.
I give a 1-star review, I mean it. The 5-star reviews are done out of sufferance and because normally someone's guilted you into doing
Are
it.
you
Such
the-
as we're doing now.
Are you the Chris Taylor 469 who keeps giving us 1-star reviews?
I can't possibly comment on that.
No, the ones that are real, I think, are the 4-star reviews. Which there's a few at the moment that were just like,
Yeah.
and
And they're all about
pretty
the pub
good.
show. They're all going, prefer the studio show to the pub show.
Well, that's why we're back in the studios.
Right. I've almost reached the point where, for things like Airbnb, where you don't trust the reviews, because as someone who does reflexively just give 5-star reviews to keep the peace,
Yeah.
and it's, and it doesn't require nuance. It's just, I had a good time, 5 stars. But it obviously wasn't a 5-star experience. Like everything's sort of a 3.5, 4
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
But no one ever gives 3.5.
No.
Or you either give 1 or 5.
Like the Herald 14 out of 20 thing on the food reviews.
Yes.
Like the podcast version of that is 5 stars, please. Just jump on there and help us out.
But I think that's because I think Uber changed the whole politics of that.
Meaningless.
Because
A 5-star review on Uber is meaningless.
No, but the whole point was
What is a
that
5-star
if you
ride?
If you give 4-star, they lose their job.
I know.
Like
If they-
dip
yes.
below about
If
4.6,
it
they
go-
lose their job.
Yeah, it's 4.2. I think.
Oh, is it
Whatever it
4.2?
is. They
Gosh,
do
you'd have to
actually...
be a shocking driver to get 4.2.
No, because
And
it's
it
happened
only
to
takes
me.
one fuckwit who had a
Yeah.
bad experience to put a 1 or a 0,
yeah.
and their whole thing goes down and they're
Yeah.
out of a job.
I got
Yeah.
that because in America, I took a very, very long Uber from the middle of Manhattan to somewhere in New Jersey where our friends were. It was like $100 Uber or something like that. And I went, it was a huge Uber. It took ages. And I forgot to tip
Ooh.
because I
Oh,
forgot
in
I was in
America-
America. Yeah. Like I'd already paid whatever it was $100 American for this Uber. Like that seemed like enough. But I didn't tip. So this guy gives me like a 1 star. My average goes right down and I suddenly can't hail Ubers very much. It took me ages to massage
Right.
back. So what I started doing was at the end of each Uber, I said to the guy,
As the passenger, he'd say.
at the end of the
You're
at the,
the
end of
only
the ride.
passenger asking for 5-star reviews.
No, at the end of the ride, I
that was
said,
a 5-star
I
passenger.
said, I always now
I
go.
didn't vomit in your car? Surely
Yeah.
5 stars.
That's right. I say, thank you so much, 5 stars. I actually say, 5 stars from me. Thank you very much.
Oh,
As
to
I'm going
them.
out.
Oh,
Well,
so
to put in their mind.
Yeah,
I
the
got
idea
you
of
5
them.
stars, ... Therefore
I'm
you
like,
should...
I'm scratching your back.
Yeah.
Lie about how enjoyable I was taking the Uber as well.
Can I get your guys' feedback? I have given every Uber... To the extent I rate, I don't think I even bother rating that. But in the days when you do,
Yeah.
when you're sort of coerced to do it, it's always 5 stars. I've only ever once not given a 5 stars, and I gave a 3-star rating. Can I describe the fare to you, and you rule on whether you think 3 stars was appropriate, too generous, not generous enough?
Yep.
It was in Santiago in Chile, and the guy went. I needed an Uber from hotel to airport to leave the country. He did the entire highway at least double the speed limit. At least double. At times easily triple.
Were you in a rush? Did you say to
No.
him, I'm in a rush?
I was early. I had nothing to do that day other than get to the airport. And no, there was no need. There was no traffic. He just fanged.
There was no traffic.
Dangerously fanged, but he made what should have been a very safe, easy highway dangerous by changing lanes where there was no cars to get around.
Oh, wow.
Just it was a video game for it. And he was fanging, and the car was, going very close to walls and stuff. I'm not, like Andrew Hansen's a very
Yeah.
nervous driver.
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm pretty chill as a driver, but I was genuinely anxious that we were going to crash. So that was, at this stage, I'm still thinking 5 stars, just
Yeah.
privately a bit snarky
Wow, so
about
that's
it.
the level where you even think about dropping down.
I'm still, ultimately here to please. Then, what's the one thing you basically require your Uber to do, especially if you're going to the airport? Like, what's the only thing you require?
Arrive at the destination.
Arrive at the destination
Yeah.
you put in. He decides that there's some sort of complicated fee and tax system for an Uber in Chile that if you actually drop someone in the airport,
Yes.
it attracts
The airport fee.
an airport
Yeah.
tax or something like that, which he didn't want to pay. So he thought it would be fine to drop me outside of the airport. What I didn't realise is, like airports are massive, but to be outside an airport still requires an
It's pretty big
an
distance.
8-kilometre walk from where he's dropped me to the check-in. And on a highway, on roads that aren't, pedestrian
But
friendly.
Chris, he'd got you there so quickly that you had all the time to do
I
it.
definitely had time to do the walk. I just thought you haven't really dropped me where I wanted to be dropped off. It was a dangerous walk. It was a long walk. So some friends I tell this story to and go, "You gave him 3?"
I was wondering what the 3 were for.
I thought, no, he still got me kind of to the airport, just not to the airport.
Like, is your only 1-star review going to be posthumous?
Yeah, 1 you'd have to kill me, and I'd still come back from the dead to give 1. 0 would be, I don't know, it didn't turn up or something. But yeah, what do you reckon? That's fine to give 3 for that, isn't it? Like if you're not dropped where you put the pin in.
Yeah,
say-
I think 3's generous.
I would say
Generous.
3, except you're in a developing country.
That was the
and
thing.
this
I had a
poor
bit of that.
person.
I had a bit of that
it's-
guilt.
It's maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a 1-star review with loading for your middle class guilt.
yeah. So 5 stars.
Could be. Reminds me of the first time I took an Uber. I was quite worried about it. I thought this seems not safe.
You never
I don't know what's
you
gonna
never
go
forget
on.
your first time.
Yeah, because it seemed bizarre that random people would drive you. How would you know if you got a good driver? All that sort of stuff. Took me a while to get into it. The first trip to the airport was this guy who turned up in a little BMW hatchback, like an incredibly kind of fast hatch. I was going to the airport as well.
Can score good cars.
Yeah, you can get good cars, but this guy turns up and he must have been new to Uber. He didn't have a mount for his phone.
Oh, no.
So what he did was he drove to the airport one-handed while holding the phone in his left hand as he drove. So he's powering around the bends, doing kind of one-handed turns. It was certainly
Did you
exciting.
offer to hold the phone? This was in the days you could sit in the front seat.
I was in the back seat, which was
Pre-pandemic, you were backseat.
yeah. Oh, well,
Oh, yeah. It's a good
diamond.
I wasn't
Damn.
sure. I wasn't. I didn't know what the etiquette was. In hindsight, I would have liked to.
What
But
are
except
you
that
in-
he would have crashed.
Taxis, are you front or back?
I'm normally back.
Pre-pandemic, you're back.
Is that
Why?
unusual?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like stars. That's like limo. That's been chauffeured.
Yeah.
I'm
I
trying to
thought it
remember.
was a real.
Yes,
I thought people
Australia.
like us went out of our way to sit in the front to show we're not the sort of people that would sit in the back.
Yeah,
Like
to the annoyance of every taxi driver who
Yeah.
then is forced to speak to you.
Oh, they'd love you in the back, but you
Yeah.
need to look real and authentic.
Egalitarian.
Yes, yeah.
But you both, enter social interactions on the basis that people will enjoy your company. I've learnt better over the years. So I was in the back seat, and this guy, it was incredibly deadly, and I think I gave him 2 stars or something, and I had no idea what it even meant, that it was like this
That's
cutting insult.
Was it not illegal back then? Because
it was totally illegal.
There's cameras that now get you.
You've
If
never
you're-
been allowed to
if you're
hold your
just
phone in
texting-
your hand.
Yeah, right. Oh, is it just at traffic lights now? If you text, you
But
still get
remember,
stuck?
Uber itself was illegal.
illegal.
When
That's
it
true.
started in
That's true.
Sydney.
Well, that's the genius of Uber.
Well, maybe that was his rationale.
Yeah.
If you're letting me pick this
I'm in a-
guy up,
Yeah.
then you'll let me do anything.
Yeah.
I'm in a criminals conspiracy. Let's go the whole way. Snort lines off the dash. Yeah.
The Chaser Report. More news, less often.
You know, like every now and then, it's normally The Guardian. I think it was The Guardian. Every now and then they do these big investigations and it sort of takes up the main... If you log onto their website, there's like the first 20 stories.
Yes.
And it happened with the Panama Papers. The most recent one was something called the Uber Files, where there was a big international investigation into the way Uber operates. And the Guardian drops this as like it's the Watergate or something. And they never seem to cause any what you'd call ripple effect to other news outlets where they think, oh, there's a story here, we'll all start reporting on it.
Yeah.
They give it so much sell and then there's no real consequence. But the reason I bring it up is it was really interesting into how much money and effort and energy they put into lobbying governments,
Yes.
state governments, to make it legal.
Yes.
And it was sort of a semi-story, I guess, in the insidiousness with which they lobbied Dan Andrews' government to be lawful. And I don't think it's like appalling that state governments buckled to this. I don't think you could argue they succumbed to good lobbying or to bribes or anything. There's no suggestion of that. I think they just read the tea leaves that this was inevitable and the gig economy and all that stuff was here to stay. Therefore, the law should bend to recognise that.
But hang on, don't you feel...
Uber spent so much money to get people to change the law, which is really interesting.
Isn't this really unfair for drug dealers who've been just plugging
Yes.
away for a very long time? Also have a gig economy based system. They also have like dial and deliver, from what I understand.
But also, unlike Uber, they're also profitable.
Yes, that's right. They aren't massively losing money.
They
And
pay
probably
their
also
drivers, I think.
Yeah, probably also looking into drone deliveries. And also in the drug courier industry, there's real penalties for people who don't do a good job, from what I understand. But anyway, but they, I talked to someone from Uber. I actually interviewed someone on the radio back in the day who was
From the company?
completely admitted that. Yeah, we just sort of set up. We know it's not really allowed, but we hope that they'll change their mind. Why can't drug dealers say to the premiers, look, we know we're not technically legal, but we figure if we keep doing this, you're going to come around? Because that's exactly what Uber did.
Well, I guess they are kind of doing that. Like they're
Yeah.
doing it,
I mean-
not quite as
Not
publicly.
quite there yet.
Drug
trans-
dealers exist. No,
that's
but they
true.
just need to put in, because I think the
They
figure
need lobbyists.
is, the figure is Uber spends about $140 million, I think it was, on lobbying per year.
Right.
Or at least at the moment, that's their sort of thing, which is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's almost one Uber Eats ad.
Yeah.
Starring Kim Kardashian and Rebel
I
Wilson.
think that's about a gram of coke in Sydney at the moment as well. So,
How many,
there's-
how
a
many
good point,
stars
though.
do you leave for your dealer, by the way? Out of 5.
Why, sort of semi-seriously on your point, why don't more people start doing things that they know to be illegal with the confidence that eventually it will be lawful? Like, I know now in all states, this is a slightly dark example, but assisted dying is now, but it wasn't for many, many years.
Well, I'm
Why
hoping
didn't
I'm
people
hoping
just
that
do
my-
it going, oh, the law will catch up with us eventually?
yeah.
I'm hoping that my serial killing business will also work the same way. If I just keep on doing it, just keep contract assassin, I think eventually we'll get there. And you know
Well,
what?
but I
If
think
people
that's-
oppose me, I'll take them out.
But that was the Silicon Valley venture capital sort of thing.
Yeah.
Break things and
Yeah, disrupt, and
Disrupt.
the law will catch up with
Yeah.
us. There was a period.
because Airbnb, same thing.
Same thing.
That's true. Yeah.
Remember,
Still
the
bad.
very early days of rideshare, and it was just Uber pretty much in the beginning. Remember there were police arrests and stuff like there were kind of
Yeah.
undercover cops were hiring Ubers
Yes.
and then arresting the driver.
And then
happened
Uber-
for about only 2 months. Then everyone just said, fuck it, there's too many of them, it's too hard.
But also, Uber came up with some elaborate system for identifying who the cops were and
that's
banning their Uber
If
accounts.
they were in uniform, they could be a cop. What was the system?
I don't know. They used AI or something. They just sort of worked
Right.
out. Oh no, it comes from this IP address.
Hang on.
Wow.
So Uber brilliantly managed to triage who was an undercover cop, but can't work out how to make money.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember back when you used to open Uber up? And there are all these cars crawling
Yes.
around on the map, and they're all completely fake.
Yeah.
It just gave you this impression that it was massively popular. It's a very dodgy company. We probably shouldn't use them.
Have you noticed?
Well, this is why I think the Uber papers never really got past the Guardian, right?
'Cause it wasn't a huge
because
shock.
all the internal emails. I mean, they were fascinating, but they were all things like the head of Uber saying, "Well, this is highly illegal, but let's do it anyway,"
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that shocked no one. Like that's what we've
No,
seen
we-
for the
we
last 10
assumed it was
years.
that.
We just
Well, also,
assumed.
the big mistake the Guardian made was opening up the comment section, and everyone just was like, "Oh, 5 stars. We want to hurt their business."
Have any of you guys noticed that Uber's way more expensive now? Like
Yes,
the one
yes.
point of difference. The reason we all pivoted from cabs to Uber was it was cheap and the
and less
the-
smelly.
Yeah, and the customer service, the interface of the app was really, it was pleasing. It was sort of
It
fun,
was
fun
quite-
to use
quite-
and good.
I mean, you couldn't get a
Um,
cab on your phone back then.
All
either
of that.
with the
And
smartphone.
I, as someone who was, not an Uber apologist, but a regular user, I don't use them as much.
No.
I either use Didy or I'm gone back to cabs.
Yeah, right. The
Because
Rido
since-
cab app is good.
Since
actually.
also just the 131, the cab
131,
service.
1800, yeah,
No
yeah,
surging. This is like what is this podcast?
If any of these people want to advertise, none of these people
No,
advertise
it's
this, but you
true.
can.
No, but it's true because at Melbourne Airport, you know how Uber has taken over most of
Yeah.
Melbourne Airport now.
Yeah.
And it is more expensive than walking a little bit further down and catching a cab.
Yeah.
Like you should always catch a cab from Melbourne Airport.
And is the reason someone tried to explain the reason Uber's quite expensive? Like I'm talking about like double Didy and it's certainly more expensive than cabs now. Is that there's a bit like so many industries like hospo and stuff. There's people have just stopped doing it. There's
Yeah.
not as many drivers, so therefore whenever you want an Uber, there's fewer of them around. Therefore,
there's a surge.
surging kicks
Yeah.
in. And I don't know why there aren't as many. If people just decided
'cause it's-
they're not getting paid
It's
well
because
enough.
there's a million jobs now. I mean, any cafe you go to is desperate for staff. Like if you were an Uber driver before, you can get a more secure job, presumably now.
Yeah, I always thought a lot of Uber drivers, it was sort of their second job, like kind of pocket money to top
Yeah.
up whatever else they do. Not all of them. Some of them did it full time. But it's really interesting. It's not the bargain. It certainly
No,
was
when
it
Uber
started.
X first started, it was very impressive.
amazing,
Yeah, and but also the food delivery apps now are massively expensive. Like the menu prices are jacked up. There's a delivery fee and a service charge. It's incredibly expensive, and the person who's delivering it to you will probably pay with their lives, and that's even more costly.
That's the crazy thing. Because when we were talking about the Uber Eats ads, it's always these massive celebrities. Like,
Incongruously next to Australians.
yes.
Yeah.
There's one with Paris Hilton and the
And
Irwins.
Bibi Irwin, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's a weird, it's
Talk
not a
about
marriage I ever expected.
I don't know which one of them's slumming it
But
harder in
it's-
that ad.
if you were an Uber Eats driver and you're looking at you paid Paris Hilton what, and you can't pay me $12 to deliver a pizza 10 kilometers. I mean, it's really out of whack. And I guess it's about market. It's the Netflix model where Uber Eats says we need to smash Deliveroo and Menu Log, so we'll just put so much money into marketing and so little money into our actual drivers who aren't staff. They're just people who volunteer in their eyes. It's sort of I've never quite reached the point of being uncomfortable with it that I don't use it, but I'm not far off.
Well,
Do you ever
there-
think twice
No,
about
no,
using Uber
so-
Eats
No,
on
I
holiday?
don't
like using it.
on
We
ethical
now-
grounds?
I now almost always just ring the restaurant and order pickup.
Right.
Because I luckily live
You
near
live
a lot
near-
of restaurants. And not only does the restaurant then get all the things, because Uber takes about
30%.
30%.
Yeah, yeah. Of the marked up price, because it's never
But
the
also
real price now.
it's always cheaper, yeah. So
Do you reckon we've got any chance of getting Uber as a sponsor? for the next-
We'll change our tune if you do. Contact Acast. No, it's true. It does seem incredibly dubious. And the really sad thing is, you think of all the drivers there who are just trying to eke out a living.
Yeah.
You know that in Uber headquarters, they're doing everything they can to fuck them all off and have drones and like driverless cars.
yeah.
Yeah, driverless cars will be the thing, won't it?
I mean, we'll just wait till they get into podcasting. We're fucked.
They'd be really good at it compared to us.
Yeah,
though.
they would be very efficient.
Our gear is from Rode Microphones. We're part of the Acast Creator Network.
Please leave us a 5-star review, which is how we got into this whole conversation. Catch you next time.